Good morning, everyone. Let me wait for everybody to join us. Just give me a second. Looks like we need a little bit more of light. That's much better. Hello, everybody. We're ready for another session on YouTube talking about immigration to Canada in 2021. My name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I teach immigration consulting at Ashton College. I have 10 years of experience as an immigration consultant, and I am the author of this book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada, which you can find out about your purchasing options by visiting 88tips.ca. But today we are here to talk about a little bit about the immigration news, what's going on in the world of immigration in Canada, new measures for air travelers to Canada, and also the recent developments in the Canadian immigration system. And if any of you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer those questions. So probably the big piece of news is the fact that starting from midnight tonight, Eastern time, all the travelers, air travelers to Canada will face new restrictions. First of all, you can travel only to 4 airports in Canada. That is Vancouver Airport, Calgary Airport, Toronto Airport, and Montreal Airport. You cannot, if you are an international traveler, you cannot travel to other airports. So again, I repeat, Calgary Airport, Toronto Airport, Montreal Airport, and Vancouver Airport. These are the airports that you can land if you are traveling from outside Canada by air. Before traveling to Canada by air, you have to take certain measures. For example, the first thing you need to make sure that you are exempt from travel restrictions. Many people nowadays cannot travel to Canada. So see if your travel to Canada is considered discretionary. Of course, if you are a Canadian citizen or permanent resident of Canada, you may travel back to Canada. But for other people, you must show that your travel is discretionary, for example, for work in Canada. And if it's not, then you need to consider applying for travel exemptions. Now, travel exemptions depends on your situation. For example, if you are traveling to Canada because you want to visit an immediate family member who is a Canadian citizen or permanent resident of Canada, for example, you're visiting your spouse or common law partner, or you're visiting your children, in those situations, all you need to do is just to show the relationship, and of course the rest of the things that I mentioned but in terms of exemptions, if you can prove that you are the immediate family member of a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, then you don't need to apply for an exemption. But if you are an extended family member of a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, then you need to show that you need to apply for exemption. And then when you apply for exemption, if they issue the exemption, then you can travel to Canada. The exemption will be issued by IRCC, Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, the organization behind immigration to Canada. But you need to keep in mind that the exemption application process is usually anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks. Now, sometimes it may take longer, sometimes shorter, but my experience with majority of my clients or people who hire me for travel exemptions is somewhere between 2 to 3 weeks. So it's a good idea if you decide to travel to Canada and you are an extended family member of a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, apply for travel exemptions at least 1.5 months before your travel, just to make sure that you receive your exemption in a timely fashion. And of course, if you receive travel exemption, then you may travel to Canada if you follow the measures that I will tell you. There is another situation that you are a foreign national, but you want to visit your family member who is a foreign national. For example, your family member is here in Canada as an international student or as a temporary foreign worker. In those situations, you may still apply for exemption if you are uniting with your immediate family member. For example, you're uniting with your parent who is on a work permit or a study permit, and you are under 21 years old and you're single, or you are visiting or joining or uniting your spouse or common law partner who is currently in Canada on a work permit or a study permit. Uniting exemptions are similar to extended family exemptions to a great extent, but the kind of documents that you need to have are actually a little bit different. But at the end of the day, that's the process. So this is the first step. So the first step, you want to know if you can travel to Canada in the first place. So do your homework. If it's necessary to file for exemptions, file for exemptions. And if you receive the exemptions, then that's the time you can travel. Okay. Now, thank you very much, Chabi Kadka. The question is that how about tourist visas? And so if you apply for a tourist visa right now or a TRV, temporary resident visa, it's very likely that the government will not even process your application. And that's partly because they want to make sure that nobody travels to Canada. However, if if you do not hold a tourist visa, and the reason that you want your TRV or temporary resident visa is because you want to visit an immediate family member or an extended family member who is a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, or you want to unite with your loved ones in Canada who are on work permits or study permits. In those situations, you shouldn't submit your application online. I mean, you can, but it's likely that they won't process your application, but you submit your application along with your request for exemption. And then IRCC will review the application. And then after reviewing the application, if they are happy with everything, they will issue, hello, Mr. Rahnamai, how are you? So the second issue is that if they issue the travel exemptions, they will also issue your TRV. And of course, it's at their discretion. Still, Section 179 is in place in terms of making sure that you will not overstay in Canada or you will not file for refuge, those kind of things. But at the end of the day, they want to make sure that you need to know that the proper channel nowadays for receiving a TRV is through this channel, because for other travelers, unfortunately, the process is different. I will definitely come back to you guys and will answer your questions, but let me just finish this part. So let's say you can travel to Canada. Then what will happen next? So let's say for some reason you have exemptions, you can travel to Canada. If you are traveling by air, you need to keep in mind that you need to take some steps. First of all, you need to have a quarantine plan for 14 days in place, which tells the government where you are going to stay and how you want to stay, etc., etc. You need to install ArriveCan. It's an app. You need to install it, and if you go on settler.ca, our website, settler.ca, if you go on our website, and I will post the link after recording this video below here as well, We have a video, we have an article about ArriveCan, how you can install it, what you need to do. So you need to install that app on your cell phone, and then you need to enter your current quarantine information in that uh, app. That's one step you need to take. So make sure that you're exempted, install ArriveCan, and then after installing ArriveCan, make sure that you enter your quarantine plan in ArriveCan. The next thing that you need to do is that you need to get in touch with a hotel that is approved by the government of Canada for 3-day quarantine, and book the hotel and enter the information of that hotel in ArriveCan. About 2 hours after this video is finished, I will post a link on our website. That page lists all those hotels and how you can book. You have to book those hotels for 3 nights. And when you're booking, this is a special booking for COVID-19. This means that you prepay for your food, for the security, for those things. So in those first 3 days, you will stay in those hotels. So again, I repeat, make sure you're exempted, install ArriveCan, have a quarantine plan for 14 days in place, book a quarantine hotel for 3 nights, and enter the information in ArriveCan. So these are the steps that you need to do. In less than 72 hours before your travel to Canada, you need to take the COVID-19 molecular PCR test. Okay, you are not allowed to take rapid test. You need to take the molecular test, and when you take that test, it needs to be taken in less than 72 hours before traveling to Canada. If your test is negative, then that's the only time that you can travel, assuming that you meet all other measures. If your test is positive, you cannot travel to Canada. And don't fake the test results. Many people have been fined and seriously fined. Recently, 2 people fined a total of, I believe, $28,000 or $18,000 just because of faking their test results. So if your test is negative, it has been taken in less than 72 hours, then you can hop on the airplane and travel to Canada. Now, this is the fun part. When you reach Canada, at the airport, the government will run another COVID-19 molecular test on you. Okay, so this is a second test that will be run at the airport. And then you will be sent to the hotel room that you have already booked for 3 nights. You stay in that hotel room for 3 nights. If your test at the Canadian airport is also negative, after 3 days, you can continue your quarantine plan wherever you have decided. So you may remain in the same hotel for another 11 days, or if you have made other arrangements, continue with those arrangements for your travel to Canada. And then after 14 days of quarantining, you are free to go. Now, if your test at the airport is positive, then the government makes sure you didn't fake your first test. And if not, then presumably they will send you to facilities by the government of Canada for the next few days or maybe weeks, just to make sure that you are free to go and you are not a danger to the health of Canadians. Okay, so that's the whole process for traveling to Canada nowadays. Despite COVID-19, obviously the government doesn't want people to travel to Canada. Even if your permanent residency is approved, in most cases you cannot travel to Canada unless it is a sponsorship case that you can travel to Canada. And I don't want to go into the details right now. Let me answer these questions, then we can come back and discuss more. So the question is that, can you please talk about, how about tourist visas? So I answered this question. The next question is that, can you please talk about showing ties to home country in the application for temporary stays? Of course I can. So basically, thanks for the good question, Ali Reza. So basically, when you want to get a visit visa to Canada, probably the main reason, in I would say more than 90% of the cases that they refuse your visit visa or TRV is under Section 179 sub B of the regulations. And what does that say? That specific paragraph says that the officer will issue the TRV only if they are convinced that the person will leave Canada by the end of their authorized stay in Canada. Okay, so normally when you travel to Canada, if the border services officer doesn't stamp your passport, or they stamp your passport and they do not mention a date, it means that you can stay in Canada for up to 6 months. So this section of the law says that after that 6 months period reaches, or if the officer tries to limit your stay below 6 months or extend your stay above 6 months, whenever the expiry of your stay reaches, you will leave Canada and you won't overstay in Canada. Obviously, you are allowed to submit an extension request or other stuff, but they don't want you to travel to Canada because your intention is to actually overstay in Canada and remain in Canada indefinitely, or file for refugee, those kind of things. So how can you convince the officer that you meet the requirements of that section? Because as I told you, more than 90% of the applications are refused based on that specific section. There are a few things that you can do. One of them is your emotional ties to your home country, which is the strongest. So emotional ties, for example, your spouse or children are in your home country, or for example, you have a strong family ties in your home country. And you cannot just say that, you need to show documentation. So for example, for your spouse, if you're married, you need to present your marriage license or marriage certificate. You need to, for children, you can show your children's birth certificate and prove that they are related to you. For family members or family ties, you can receive letters from family members, especially if they are notarized letters that they clearly say that we have a very strong family tie here in our home country. If you have a family member that you take care of, like an elderly or somebody who is ill, and then you need to provide enough documentation to show that you are one of the caregivers for that person, so you cannot be absent from your home country for a long time. And on top of that, on top of emotional ties, you can also show your financial ties. And by financial ties, it means that if you have a job, you can receive a letter from your workplace that they show that you have limited leave of absence or you lose your job. And obviously, you need to show that this job makes good money for you. If you have rental properties in your home country, you can show them. If you have a property, main property that you live, you need to show the title deed, preferably the appraisal, to show this is serious investment for you in your home country. If you have businesses in your home country, anything that shows your financial ties with your home country. And the third one would be your travel history, which really helps. So travel history, especially if you have traveled to countries similar to Canada. For example, you have traveled to Australia in the past and left Australia, you didn't overstay. Or you traveled to the United States and you didn't overstay, or to Germany or the United Kingdom. You need to have a travel history. Just having a visa to those countries doesn't prove anything. You have the visa, but you haven't traveled. Have you traveled? So for a majority of frequent travelers to other countries, they easily receive TRV to Canada. But if you are not a frequent traveler, if you don't show emotional ties to your home country or financial ties to your home country, the officer will refuse your application. So make sure you have all those in under your belt, and that convinces the officer. Keep that in mind, that the process of TRV is discretionary. What does that mean? It means that the officer has the final say based on their gut feelings. They don't say that. They say we do this on reasonable grounds, or even sometimes they say that we do it based on balance of probabilities. But the reality is not that. The reality is that the officer looks at the documents, and based on their experience, they decide whether to issue the visa or not. So you may include all the necessary documents and you truly believe that you have no issues, but despite that, they will refuse the application. And obviously, we've talked about ties. On top of ties, they also look at your financial status, how much money you have, do you have a good job, if you travel to Canada, you can cover your expenses. Those things are also important. But another big one is the policies of government towards another country. Because if they see this is a trend for people from that country to come to Canada and file for refugee, then they are prone to refuse TRV, most of TRV applications from that country. For example, from Iran. Many Iranians, actually in 2019, 5,380 Iranians filed for refugee in Canada, which is a huge number. So for that reason, the immigration officers may simply refuse your application because they suspect you will be another Iranian who comes to Canada and file for refugee. We have the same situation for many other countries, like Afghanistan, like Venezuela, like Cuba, at least based on my personal experience. Whenever I have clients from those countries, I just submit the application with trembling hands because I know that the odds of success from those countries are very low. So that's the gist of it. I have an article about temporary resident visa on my website. If you check it out, how to get a temporary resident visa or TRV to Canada, I will explain that in more details. Yes, you can check that out as well. So, okay, so the next question is from Muhammad Ali. Hello, sir. After filling your assessment form and waiting for the mentioned period, if you don't answer, it does mean I should look to another way. So yeah, so that's a very good question, Muhammad Ali. Yes, so we have an assessment form on our website, and actually we have the assessment form in 4 languages, in English, in French, in Spanish, and in Farsi or Persian. You can fill out any of those forms. On a typical day, we receive anywhere between 100 to 200 assessment forms. And this is on top of all the contact forms that people fill out or the phone calls that we receive to our website. So this is a huge undertaking for my staff to look into those assessment forms and see who qualifies or who doesn't. But we do it. We actually look into every single form to see that whether that person qualifies for anything based on our knowledge base. And then if we find an opportunity for that person, we get in touch with them. From the time that you submit the form to the time that you receive the answer, it's usually between 5 to 10 days that we get in touch with you. And but if we don't get in touch with you, it's because we couldn't find an option for you. It doesn't mean that you do not qualify for immigration to Canada. It's just that for us was impossible to find something for you. Now, we don't communicate with people that we don't find options for them because of 2 reasons. First of all, majority of people who fill out those forms, they do not qualify. And that will be a huge undertaking for us to communicate with every single of them and just tell them, sorry, you do not qualify, sorry, you do not qualify. The other problem is that as soon as you say, sorry, you do not qualify, the next question is, what can I do to qualify? And for that, I already have published many articles and videos to assist you understand how you could qualify for immigration to Canada. So to avoid useless communications at the end of the day, and to serve you better, we have deliberately decided to only communicate with those people that we find something for them, okay? It doesn't mean that you do not qualify if you don't find anything for you. Okay, so what are the factors? I think that's the continuation of the question that you asked. The other question is from Christopher Andrew. Good morning, sir. Following your programs here from Uganda. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much from contacting or watching my videos from Uganda. It's an honor. Thank you, Christopher. So the next one, Mohammed Sohail, can someone who is receiving ODSP assistance sponsor her spouse without traveling to her country of origin where her fiance lives? She is too sick to travel. So first of all, when spousal sponsors, they are exempt from minimum income. However, the person cannot receive social assistance. The only exception is receiving social assistance because of a disability. And ODSP is an initiative. For those of you that you don't know, ODSP stands for Ontario Disability Program. And if somebody is in Ontario, they receive ODSP. But if they are in British Columbia, we have a special disability programs in British Columbia or other provinces. So if that person receives disability money, that's okay. They still can sponsor their spouse. However, they need to be either married or in common law relationship. And by married, it means that you officially marry each other. Okay. Now, marriage by proxy is not acceptable for immigration to Canada. Marriage by proxy, it means that the sponsor, for example, is in Canada and the applicant is in another country, and they marry each other online. Both of them, they need to be present in the same room when the marriage is taking place. So it's important. So the answer to your question, general answer to your question, is that a remote marriage is not acceptable. Canada does not have a fiancé visa. However, because of COVID-19, they made an exemption. And nowadays, you can request a TRV to visit your fiancé in Canada. And if you manage to receive that TRV and you come to Canada, and then at that time you get married here in Canada, then you can initiate the sponsorship application process. And I have an article about travel exemptions on settler.ca. If you visit that, I will talk about that fiance visa as well, if you will. But you can also fill out the form if you need our assistance with that process. So the next question is Survey Immigration Services. Hello, Mr. Parsai. It's Sukchain here, your student from Ashton College. Oh, hi, Sukchain. Good to see you here. Hi. Thank you for watching this video. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I teach immigration consulting at Ashton College. And I am honored that many of the people who are currently active immigration consultants and great immigration consultants, they are actually graduates of Ashton College, and many of them my students. So I'm so happy to hear you. You're here and you're successful, hopefully, with your business. And nowadays, we are teaching some advanced courses for people who are already immigration consultants or immigration lawyers. I'm teaching an advanced course on the topic of temporary residence in Canada for to other immigration consultants and lawyers. So if you're interested, you can join us. Okay, so the next question. Okay, so Alireza Rahnamai says, perfect now, thank you. From Isfahan. Okay, so Isfahan, the lovely city in the center of Iran. It's for those of you who don't know, in terms of population, I believe Isfahan is the third largest city in Iran after Tehran and Mashhad, and it's such a beautiful city. It used to be the capital of Iran at one point around 300 years ago, and it's such a beautiful city. Some of my relatives are from Isfahan, so. Okay, so the next question is that, hello, if I study online, do I have to present proof of funds? Yes. So this question is from Jamie Bastidas. Yes, the answer is yes. So basically, of course, anybody can study online, and you don't need a study permit for studying online. And in fact, in the past, even if today you look at this law of Canada, if you look at the sections 213 and after, which discusses study permits to Canada, they say you can receive a study permit in Canada if at least 50% of your studies are in person, not online. However, the situation changed because of COVID-19. If you want to study in Canada, you can actually sign up for your online courses, get an admission, and even study before coming to Canada. However, if you want that study be counted towards a postgraduate work permit and your ability to eventually work in Canada and become permanent resident, this means that you need to receive the admission from a designated learning institution. You need to get a study permit. When you submit your application for a study permit, you need to follow all the things that are defined under Section 216 of the regulations to receive the study permit. And of course, financials is the big one for a study permit. Ties to your home country is another one. Having an admission, etc., is another one. So definitely you need to show the financials. For those people who are from those 7 countries that they can apply under SDS or study direct stream, those people, on top of all of this, they need to show IELTS test results, IELTS academic, which shows that they have received good results, at least IELTS 6 or CLB 7. And they also need to take to purchase a GIC, which is a guaranteed income certification of at least $10,000. Okay, so they need to purchase that from a designated bank in Canada. Not every financial institution is approved. If you're from India, probably ICC Bank is your best choice. But there are also Bank of China is approved here. There are several banks that one of my clients recently purchased a GIC from a Chinese bank, which is approved. So you need to make sure that the bank is approved. And majority of those banks, or I would say all of those banks that are approved, they already have branches in Canada. Or you can purchase your GGIC from a Canadian bank. But that's for SDS students. If you're not a SDS student, you don't need to purchase that $10,000 GIC. However, if you do that, that shows that you have no financial issues. You need to show that you can cover your first year of studies in Canada. And by first year of studies, it means tuition fee, your accommodation, your commute, your food, books, everything. And usually the universities and colleges, they have calculators on their website that you can calculate an estimated expenses for 1 year, and then you need to show the immigration authorities that you have that money readily available to you. Okay, so that's the answer to your question. So the next question is from Zaidi Abdel Udud. So Zaidi Abdel Udud says, hello, Mr. Parsai, I'm from Algeria. I crossed the border from Roxham Road to Quebec from NYC in February 2019 and claimed asylum. I claimed asylum in USA too and failed to show up the appointment. No, okay, what's the question? If my demand was refused, can I immigrate to Canada in the future, or it will not be possible to come back to Canada ever again? Okay, so first of all, I hope that they accept your refugee claim here in Canada. If they accept your refugee claim, then you're good to go. But if they do not accept your refugee claim in Canada, you will be removed from Canada. Obviously, you probably have heard. It's a long history. You go to RPD. If RPD refuses you, you go to RAD. If RAD refuses you, then the next step is that you need to apply for PRA or H&C, but you need to wait at least 1 year. And if you're lucky, they don't remove you within those 1 year, then you can apply for pre-removal risk assessment or for H&C immigration to Canada. If none of those happen, or you go for judicial review through court and you lose all your avenues, in that situation, you will receive, normally you receive a departure order. In your case, it's very likely that you will receive an exclusion order, which means that for 1 year, you cannot come back to Canada. After 1 year, if it's an exclusion order after 1 year, if you receive a deportation order forever, you are banned from Canada. This means that in the future, so if you receive a departure order and you leave Canada, you can immediately apply for immigration to Canada, okay, in the future. If you receive an exclusion order, you need to wait at least 1 year, and that after 1 year apply for immigration to Canada, which is the most likely this is the case. If you receive a departure order, you never can apply for immigration to Canada unless simultaneously or prior to that, you apply for ARC, which is authorization to return to Canada. That's a relatively complex process, but if they approve your application for authorization to return to Canada, then you are good to go and you can apply for immigration to Canada. Okay, so that's the gist of it. However, of course, I don't know about the specifics of your case. Depending on the specifics of your case, my recommendation to you could be different, but that's the general idea. Okay, so the next question is Alhaj Mahmoud. Hello, sir. I have Canada TRV visa. Please let me know when can I travel to Canada. So please, when I'm done with this video, I will save it. So please come back and watch the first few minutes of the video. It will explain under what circumstances you could travel to Canada. So either it is discretionary or to visit a family member, etc. If you do have any of those, then you can apply for exemption and travel to Canada. If not, you need to wait for the travel restrictions to be lifted. And honestly, nowadays, I mean, starting from this midnight, the travel restrictions are even worse comparing to last year. So right now the situation is very bad, but hopefully by rolling out the vaccine and all those things, we will hopefully see some progress in terms of travelers being able to travel to Canada. So this will hopefully in the next few months change. Okay, so where was I? I lost it. Oh, okay. So the next question is from Atul Kular. Which work permit is faster, C11 or ICT from India? So basically, none of them are faster from each other. So basically, for those of you who don't know what this is about, so IMP C11 is an exemption code for entrepreneurs and self-employed people to be able to work in Canada, establish their own business and work in Canada. And ICT stands for intra-company transferee. It falls under, depending on which country you are from, because you're from India, it falls under IMP C12. If you are from, for example, the United States or Mexico, this will be T24. But at the end of the day, you are for ICT or intra-company, it means that there's an international company that they have a branch or subsidiary or their mother company is in Canada, and they want to transfer some of their executives, senior managers, or people with specialized knowledge to Canada. We cannot say which method is faster from the other. They are pretty much give or take the same, especially if you are from India. Nowadays, New Delhi, of course, if you go online, they say that the processing time is 13 weeks, but in reality, the processing time could easily go way beyond 13 weeks, easily. And it's very difficult to say whether C11 or C12, which one is faster. Also, you need to keep in mind that if somebody is teeter-tottering between C11 and C12, it's very likely their best option is C11, not C12. Because C12 comes with certain circumstances. So somebody may think that they qualify for C12, but they don't really qualify for C12 or ICT. So I recommend that you get in touch with a professional team. Of course, if you want to hire us, you can get in touch with us, and we will look into your circumstances to see whether C12 is a good option in the first place. Okay. So the next question. The next question is from Jamie Batistas. So my 17-year son has a study permit. I study at college. Can he work part-time? So no, unfortunately, when you are studying, so I'm a bit confused here. If somebody is studying at a post-secondary program, like a college or a university, then they may work in Canada. If that college or is a DLI, designated learning institution, then yes, they may work. But if you're studying at high school and you're a minor, unfortunately, you cannot work in Canada. So that's the gist of it. But again, Jamie, it depends on the circumstances of the case. These fall under Section 186 of the regulations, which again depends on the studies that you are doing. If it's post-secondary towards a diploma or a degree, then you may even work off campus 20 hours per week. But if it's like a ESL program, it's not a diploma program, then in those situations, you can only work on campus. So Zaidi says, thank you very much, Zaidi. So, Zaidi, I lived in United Arab Emirates for more than 2 years. It was two years and 4 months. So I need a little bit, and of course I'm Iranian, so I need English as well, Arabic a little bit as well. So good morning, Mr. Parsai. So this is from Gabber Singh. Good morning, Mr. Parsai. I really like your content. I will be thankful if you could reply this. I have applied for PR for myself and my family under SUV program in June 2020. Till date, I have received a temporary application number only from IRCC. I'm waiting for permanent resident application number to file for my work permit. Yes, I understand your frustration, Gabber, unfortunately. And for those of you who don't know SUV, it's not the vehicle. SUV is a startup visa. So if you have applied for a startup visa, CIO in Sydney, Nova Scotia, is pretty much they are not working. I mean, there are some exceptional situations that they actually do something, but generally speaking, it's very slow and frustrating. And we don't know when they will actually review your application or other applications. When they issue the temporary file number, it just means that to issue your AOR, or acknowledgement of receipt, and nothing else. This means that they have not even opened your application to go through it. So they maybe took it out from the envelope, but they haven't actually gone through the pages to see if you submitted a complete application. And unfortunately, we don't know when this is going to happen, considering the current situation. Probably another at least 2-3 months you need to wait for them to issue that. So let's keep our fingers crossed. I also have many clients at CIO that they are facing the same situation. The only applications that they actually process nowadays are overseas permanent residency application for spouses or common law partners. Other ones, most of them are stuck. So the next one, is it possible to do a phone consultation with you to discuss case specifics? So that's the question is from Zaidi. So the simple answer is yes, but consultation sessions with me are not free. They are actually, it costs you $200 for half an hour for consultation. And the reason I charge, because I receive so many requests. So I just want to make sure that people who file with me, they are serious people. And then I know that $200 is a big amount of money. But if it turns into a retainer agreement, we will deduct that amount from your retainer fee. So eventually it becomes free, but if somebody just have a consultation and they go away, they lose that $200. Obviously, sometimes you do consultation and we realize there is no option for you, and then you will lose that $200. Now, I want to give you a secret, and the secret is that if you go right now on settler.ca and search for offers, we have a special offer for consultation that gives you 40% discount. So instead of $200, you pay $120. But you need to look for it. Go on settler.ca and in the search box, look for offers, and you will see that. Okay, so the next question is from the main marketplace. Hi, Mr. Parsai, where do you send the spouse sponsorship demand made by Canadians living abroad? Do we send it same as Outland to Sydney? Sponsorship made by Canadian living abroad. So yeah, so if the Canadian citizen wants to sponsor their spouse or common law partner and they also live outside Canada, then the application must go to CIO, Sydney, Nova Scotia. However, keep that in mind that that Canadian citizen must prove that by the time that their spouse or common law partner receives permanent residency, they will also accompany them back to Canada. So they have to show strong evidence that their intention is to actually go back to Canada, and they need to provide documentation for that. If the person is a permanent resident of Canada and they live outside Canada and they want to sponsor their spouse to Canada, unfortunately, they cannot. So for permanent residents to be able to sponsor their spouses from outside Canada, they actually need to be physically present inside Canada. And I've had two cases in the past 10 years that I'm practicing that the officer suspected that the sponsor doesn't live in Canada, and they actually asked them for extra documentation to prove that they live in Canada. Now, in both cases, we were successful. They presented enough documentation. They convinced the officer, and they eventually landed in Canada. Unfortunately, one of those marriages fell apart eventually, but at least the application was successful. Okay, so the next question. So the next question, if I get two trade certificates, do I get 3 years PGWP? Thanks a lot. So basically, the officers look into the duration of your studies, and if your studies are at least 1 year in Canada and the school that you are taking is a PGWP qualified, it means postgraduate work permit qualified, then they will issue a work permit to the duration of your studies in Canada for up to 3 years. However, this is a little bit tricky. Because I understand what you're talking about. So let's say you have 2 1-year programs. You obviously report that to the officer, and it is at their discretion how to deal with that. And I would say majority of officers in this situation will issue either a 2-year or a 3-year work permit if you have studied 2 years in Canada. But it's at the discretion of the officers. Nowadays, the officers are very flexible because of the coronavirus situation. Not only that, even if your PGWP is expired, the government introduced an 18 months extra work permit for PGWP holders. And I actually had a client and it was kind of an interesting situation because we were applying for another kind of work permit for her, but then government suddenly issued this policy, and her work permit was supposed to expire on January 28th. January 28th. And this new measure came into effect on January 27th. So just 1 day before the expiry of her PGWP, we managed to submit the application for that 18-month extension. And believe it or not, just last week, the government issued that 18-month extension for her. So that was a great news for my client. And again, This is a new measure because of coronavirus, and they may revert that in the future. But right now it works. So right now they are quite flexible for keeping international students in Canada and eventually helping them to become permanent residents. But what will happen in the future, I don't know. So the next question is Gabber saying, my son has 2 admission in one of Canada's top universities. Will there be any chance that my son application for a study permit will be rejected on because he has already applied for PR with me under SUV? So generally speaking, this falls under section 22 sub 2 of the act, which says that if you have dual intent, the officer cannot refuse your permanent resident application. If you go on settler.ca, I have an article on dual intent, and actually I have a video on YouTube about dual intent. Dual intent means that if you have submitted an application for a permanent residency in Canada and you're waiting for the processing of that application, then you apply for a temporary stay in Canada, whether it's work permit or a study permit or visit visa, the officer cannot refuse your temporary stay application because you have a permanent resident application. So this is the law. Subsection 2 of section 22 of the Immigration Act. It clearly says that. And for my clients, when they have dual intent like this, when I submit the application in my cover letter, I make sure to bring up this section of the law just to remind the officer that you cannot refuse this application because of this reason. There's a dual intent. Having said that, the officer may still refuse the application under other provisions of section 216. So they could still refer to paragraph 216(1)(b), and they say, oh yeah, by the end of your stay, you won't leave Canada, and they refuse the application. Or under financial situations, they refuse the application. It doesn't mean that the officer won't refuse the application, but they cannot refuse it because of permanent resident application. So the main marketplace says, thanks for taking time to answering questions. You're more than welcome. Atul Kolar says, if I had 12 years of experience as director of company with shareholding of 19% and I have 200,000 plus funds to invest, which route C11 or ICT or owner operator is better? So based on this information, I cannot tell you which one. But what you can do, you can fill out our assessment form, and we will review that, and then we will tell you. Okay, so filling out our assessment form and get in touch with our assessment team is free because you won't book an appointment with me. You can go through that route and they will try to find the best option for you. But if you want my consultation, you can book a consultation session with me. I will review all the details of your case and will tell you which option is better for you. But based on this, I don't know. It's very difficult for me to tell you which one is the best option. So the next one is Robin Singh. What is current processing time for LMIA approval for manager job? So the LMIA applications, it's in shambles, let's put it that way, and depends on the case. For example, right now I have an LMIA application that we submitted. I think it's now, we reached 1 month and no response yet. So a typical LMIA application could take, a labor market impact assessment application could take anywhere between 2 to 3 months to be processed. Having said that, if it's a global talent stream LMIA application or an application that you can request and expedite, then they will expedite it. So in certain situations, they may even process the LMIA application in 2-3 days. But some applications may go even beyond 2 or 3 months. It also depends on the kind of LMIA application and the province of LMIA application. If your application is submitted in Saskatchewan, then the odds of receiving a quick response are higher comparing to an application that is submitted in Ontario. Okay, so the next question, if my Ontario driver's license is still valid for 4 more years, Once my status changes to PR while driver's license is still valid, can I continue to use it until it expires, or I need to reapply? Thanks very much for this great question. So simply put, a driver's license has nothing to do with immigration. And in fact, many visitors to Canada apply for a driver's license and they receive their driver's license. And if your status in Canada changes, then you don't need to change your driver's license unless you want to apply for one of those driver's licenses that you can use to travel to the United States. Other than that, no, you don't need to change your driver's license. However, if you're already holding a SIN number, that SIN number will change. And you need to apply for a new SIN number when you become a permanent resident of Canada, because the SIN numbers for temporary stay, they are temporary and their code is different from the SIN numbers, or SIN stands for social insurance number. For permanent resident is different from temporary, but for driver's license doesn't matter. And next time that you're renewing your driver's license, you can let them know that you're a permanent resident of Canada, or maybe by that time you're a citizen, you know. The next one, and the same thing is about your OHIP card. Actually, for OHIP, it's different because they are very sensitive towards your situation as a permanent resident or temporary resident. So you may even end up, your OHIP card will expire anyways. So you need to apply for a new OHIP. But generally speaking, OHIP and driver's license are not issued by the immigration authorities. They are issued by the provincial authorities. Hello, the next question is from Maya Hassoun. Hello, may I know if I already applied for self-employed? Is it possible to apply for work permit notified that I just received a TFN? If yes, how long does it take? Usually takes for approval. So the simple answer, Maya, is yes, you may apply. Again, for the same reason that I said, under Section 22 sub 2 of the Act, which says that you do not need to be, you may have, dual intent and apply for temporary stay in Canada. Actually, under the provisions of Code C11, there are a few things that it talks about dual intent when you want to apply for. If you already have applied for a self-employed application and now you want to apply for work permit, you can. And in fact, I've had clients in the past under the self-employed class that we applied for a C11 work permit for them, IMP C11, and they received their work permit. They came to Canada, and in fact, it helped their permanent resident application as well, because they had already started their work in Canada, and that convinced the immigration authorities to issue their permanent residence. So the simple answer is yes. However, I don't know the circumstances surrounding your application. So make sure that if you have an immigration consultant or lawyer, consult with them about making a decision. Or if you don't have, or if you want to hire us, book an appointment with me, and we will look into your case to see if it's a doable thing. But generally speaking, yes, it's doable. So I say, okay, thank you for the information. You're welcome. Dominion Marketplace, thanks. Jamie says, thanks. Thank you very much. Okay, Iranash TV. So hello, sir. Good morning. Good evening. I just came into your program now. I'm a UAE resident. Please, what is the easiest way to get to Canada as a UAE resident? We'll really appreciate your reply. So because you are a UAE resident doesn't create anything in terms of immigration to Canada, even if you are a UAE citizen. So basically, for immigration to Canada, you need to meet the requirements of that immigration. And unfortunately, there is not a single immigration option to Canada that is easy. So there is no easy way to immigrate to Canada. Yes, there are some immigration options that are extremely complex and difficult, but we don't have easy immigration option to Canada. In fact, I have a video that says, don't ask these questions when you immigrate into Canada. And one of those questions is, I want an easy way to immigrate to Canada. My suggestion to you is that just go on settler.ca. We have an assessment form, fill out that assessment form, and we review your application. If my team find an opportunity for you, we'll get in touch with you for further assessment And of course, if you want to hire us, you can hire us. If you don't want to hire us, no obligations, you can do it yourself. And of course, if you meet the requirements. So the next question. So we are almost at 1 hour mark. So I will answer the remaining questions that I see here, 3-4 questions, and I'm done. So the next question, and of course, I will come back next week. So remember that every Sunday at 10 a.m. EST or Toronto time, I will be here live and I will do my best to answer all your questions. And I want to thank you very much for supporting me, watching this video, subscribing to our channel, sharing videos with other people. Please promote this channel to other people. And you can, of course, also support me by purchasing my book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. You can visit 88tips.ca for your purchasing options, but basically it's available on Amazon. So let me answer the other questions. So a big thank you. You're superb. Thank you very much, Gabber. Thank you very much. And Maya says, you're really giving valuable information. Thank you for all the efforts you've done and doing. Do advise if in case we got refused for self-employed to appeal the case. So Maya, unfortunately for self-employed immigration, the refusal rate is high. Because it's a very difficult process to submit an application and convince the officer. It's hugely discretionary because of Section 100 sub 2 of the regulations that gives a huge discretionary power to immigration officers to refuse those applications. So you have to be ready to defeat that officer if you can. But at the end of the day, if they refuse your application, you have only two options. One option is to file for judicial review through Federal Court of Canada. You need to hire an immigration lawyer or a very good lawyer to do that for you. And or the next option is to start from scratch and submit another application. And that's my simple advice to you. So can I buy a house as a student? So the simple answer is yes, you can buy a house as a student in Canada. Canada is an open market. There is no limitation in terms of purchasing homes in Canada. For foreign nationals, you cannot even, you may not even live in Canada and buy a home in Canada. However, keep that in mind that first of all, buying a house in Canada does not entitle you to immigrate to Canada. So you cannot use that as a tool for immigration to Canada. The second thing that you need to know is that if you are purchasing the home in the greater Vancouver area or in the greater Toronto area, then unfortunately there is a 15% tax that you need to pay on top of the price of the home. So for example, if the home is $1 million, you have to pay an extra $150,000 to the government to purchase that home as a foreign national. Outside these two areas, it's okay. You won't pay that extra. And the reason that they are asking for this extra tax is because of the fact that, oh, Jamie, thank you very much for this COP 20,000. So yes, so you can do that, but keep in mind that it's in your best interest if you purchase the home outside GTA. Okay, so the next question is, thank you for mentioning, okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for mentioning OHIP and SIN as well. You are very thorough. Thank you very much, Yasi. And the next one, and it's the last question I'm going to answer. We already passed 1 hour mark. Hi, sir. Any news on the home childcare provider pilot program applied last August 2019? Still got no program since March 2020. Thank you. Yes, I know. It's unfortunately CPC Edmonton is very slow, extremely slow. And this is obviously for the reasons of COVID-19 and all those fiasco that we are dealing with. I have some applications stuck at CPC Edmonton, and I keep my fingers crossed that this situation changes and soon you hear some good news from them. Okay, again, thank you very much for this session. I really enjoyed your participation. Great questions. And by the way, I'm making changes to our videos starting from this week. We will hopefully make our videos more interactive. So please get involved with watching the videos, asking your questions below those videos, and I'll try to make videos in response to your questions. So our videos will be published every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. EST. So 3 videos per week that we explain different aspects of immigration to Canada, and obviously on Sundays at 11 a.m. 10 a.m. EST, we will have our live session. Thank you again for watching this video. I love you. See you soon.